Beautiful stuff, just beautiful. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Boulder, where we really enjoy the ideal of diversity. The world is about diversity, and a lot of people have been thrown off lately by COVID. We're now beginning to get beyond all that, and we recognize the ideal of diversity is beautiful, it's wonderful, it's the variety of life. Is there anybody here from another Unity today? Okay, is there anybody here for the first time? Okay, raise your hand a little higher, please. We have a gift for you. Anybody else, raise your hand, because we have a gift for if you're here for the first time. All right. Is there anybody here for the last time? Had enough, have you? It's okay, we have a gift for you too. All right. We've changed the format for this particular service. Santisha and I are going to have a discussion that evolved out of an inspiration that took place at a memorial service yesterday in Fellowship Hall. So stand by and we will enjoy together.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Boulder. Those of you who are here in person and those of you who are joining us online, thank you for spending some time with us. I've got a few announcements about upcoming events that are happening here and around Unity of Boulder. The first one we've got is we have a Qigong workshop coming up in June, led by a true Italian Qigong master, Francesco Garipoli. He was here last year and did a workshop, and that's Sunday, June 25th from 12:30 to 2:30. It'll be right here in Fellowship Hall. It's $45, and you can sign up online, in our bookstore, even over the phone, but definitely check that out. He's also going to be doing a week-long workshop just before that that's his own event, and you could check his website out if you need any information about that. Please see us in the office or his poster out in the lobby. His name's Francesco Garipoli. Next, we have a homeopathic first aid class being taught by one of Unity of Boulder's really good friends, Wendy Littlepage, and she is she's a classically trained and certified homeopath, and this class will be about first aid for your average summertime maladies, and these are all natural remedies and things that just came from the earth. And we're actually going to have two separate classes. If you can't make one, you could go to the other one. The first one will be June 11th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. and the second one will be Tuesday, June 13th from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. and that one we will also be doing on a hybrid Zoom, so you could do it in person or you could do it from home. And that's $35. You can sign up for that here in our bookstore, online, or over the phone. That's taught by Wendy Littlepage, and she definitely knows what she's doing. Santisha goes to her for homeopathic advice constantly and all the time, so and she always gives her the goods. So, just didn't sound right. You know what I mean. We always have an ongoing Wednesday night meditation every Wednesday that we've been having for years. It's led by Jack and Norma, and still no different. The only thing is now we are trying to have it, we're doing summertime hours, we're having it at 6 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. So if you haven't checked that out, if one of the reasons you've never checked it out is you thought 7 p.m. start time was too late, now would be your time to try it out starting at 6 p.m. on this Wednesday, and all you have to do is show up. And last but not least, today we'd like to invite everyone to join us, our whole staff and ministry. We're going to go have lunch just down the street here, right here at 28th and Valmont here. There's a Mexican restaurant called La Mariposa. It's really good, decently priced food. We're going to meet there today, probably about 1 o'clock. So please, if you'd like to come have lunch with us, we already reserved a large area, so they'll be able to take us all in. So please come on out for that. We'd love to hang out and have lunch with you. All right, thank you.
Welcome to Unity today. So this is the point in our service where we do a call to prayer. This is an opportunity to write down any names of people that you feel need prayer at this time. There's little sheets in front of you, or you can just take a piece of paper out of your pocket and write it on there. You're welcome to pray for yourself and put your name down. And it will go into this prayer box, and it will be prayed over every night by our prayer team for a month, and then it'll be sent to Silent Unity and prayed over for another 30 days. You don't have to put what the issue is, what any symptoms are. We know that God already knows what you need before you even ask. It's really about us in prayer aligning with this greater power, this greater healing energy. And so that's why we like to sing a song, just call Spirit closer to us as we leave the world outside these doors. And they say to sing is to pray twice, so to join Norma and I in singing. And this is Steve Hayes, he's the head of our prayer team. And Steve Sheets, sorry, Steve Hayes is my assistant, sorry about that. We got a lot of Steves around here these days. We have a lot of Donnas too. Donna and Steve is the name of the month. Okay, so he'll be going down the aisle, so please send your cards in and they'll get put in that way. Okay, thank you, Steve.
Join us on this song. The words are up, and it helps you get into the whole feeling if you feel like singing.
Open my eyes, O divine one. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to feel you. I want to feel you. Open my eyes, O divine one. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to feel you. I want to feel you. To feel you holding me alive, shining through my heart, overflowing. Source of all life, as we sing, holy, holy, holy. Together. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to feel you. Let's do the holies again. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to feel. Now we start from the beginning again. Now join us. Let's all stand up and sing this together. Open my eyes, O divine one. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to feel you. I want to feel you. Open my eyes, O divine one. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to feel you. I want to feel you. To feel you holding me up, shining through my heart, overflowing. Source of all life, as we sing, holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to feel you. Let's do one more time with holies. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to feel. Beautiful singing.
Do you feel it in this room? So powerful.
So beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, now we have the opportunity to listen to our longtime friend, main soloist of Unity. Let's have a warm Boulder welcome for Rebecca Abraxas.
I'm going to keep honoring the mother in May. The heart of a mother, the heart of a mother, I give to you, oh I need nothing back, I give to you, oh my love, there is no lack, I'm a heart of a mother. The heart of a mother, there's nothing like it on this earth. The day has come for you to walk away. Everything in me cries, please stay. But my soul, it knows to let you go. My heart keeps giving unconditionally. I'm a heart of a mother. The heart of a mother, there is nothing like it on this earth than the heart of a mother. The heart of a mother, there is nothing like it in this universe. To hold space for you has grown my heart by two. To hold space for you has grown my heart and made me a heart of a mother, a heart of a mother. There is nothing like it on this earth than the heart of a mother, the heart of a mother. There is nothing like it in this universe. Heart of a mother.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's a beautiful way to start today.
Before we start, can you explain why you get a pillow and I don't?
Because I'm shorter than you. Do you want one?
It doesn't work. No, it's okay
Can
now.
you get him a pillow?
No, I had to embarrass myself.
They are deep chairs. Oh, love it.
Okay.
So today I had a whole other talk title that I had sent an advertisement out and did all the promotions on, and then I had an experience yesterday where I realized that I had a take a different turn with where I was heading in the sermon that I wrote. These are interesting times here at Unity, and we're going to be very honest with you about some things that we're going through at this wonderful center and where it's at this point. And it's not our favorite thing to have to talk about, but it's part of the journey, the giving and the receiving. My original talk title was The Law of Giving, but I actually have changed it to The Law of Love-Backed Intentions. The Law of Love-Backed Intentions. So yesterday we did a memorial for a gentleman that's been with this center for over 40 years. And there was all sorts of memorabilia of his life as a spiritual person, but most importantly, as just a human being that sought a spiritual life through service. He was one of the greatest serving beings we have ever known at Unity of Boulder. And he's been around since our first church off of 22nd and Pearl, which held about 50 people? About 50 people. When we first got here from Texas as a family, I was 4 years old at the time. And there were pictures of the 3 different churches as they migrated. He was on the board of directors, and the different times he was on the board and who he was with different people. And we get to remember all these people had passed away to look through the memorabilia. It was just so heartwarming to see that Unity was a center of his life. And we knew it, but he was just a selfless server. You know, he was one of these people that he saw a problem and he went and he fixed it without even barely talking to anybody. And we still have evidence of his service right out here in the parking lot. Last year we were getting big potholes in our parking lot, and we haven't been able to replace it because after COVID, asphalt has doubled. So it's like $160,000 just to do one parking lot. So he did some temporary fixes with actual cement, and you can see them. So that's our memory of Chris Denham serving up to last year before he succumbed to an illness and passed away this last month. He actually passed away on Easter Sunday. Mm-hmm. So my dad was sharing in the talk. I wasn't actually leading the memorial, but I went out of respect because of my memory from a little kid moving to Texas. I just thought that Unity owned Chris Denham. He was always there. He was probably 23 then, you know. He was a young, just understood the ideals of what it means to give and receive, and he had a very blessed life in the way because it was service first, right? And growing up in that little church from being a little kid, I always just thought that people just meandered all over the property and took care of it, because that's how it was when we got here. It was just people meandering in and out of the building. The buildings didn't have to be locked because there was no homeless issue at that time. So people could just go in the sanctuary and pray, and they would help paint. They were just painting and always working on this building that was dilapidated, and it was falling apart majorly when we came into town. And I've watched the culture change through all the years of being daughter to secretary to assistant minister to senior minister, how much we have forgotten our spiritual communities and what it really takes to keep these places running in a wonderful way. Because, I mean, you can come here and sit and listen to us talk, and we can inspire you with our words, but it's really love in action. You really don't feel God the way you do in your actions of love and giving. And that can be time, talent, treasure, but all 3 are needed to keep a center open and operating on the right side of prosperity. And right now we're not on the right side of prosperity. So our love-backed intention for this talk today is to see ourselves this summer being on the right side of prosperity, that collectively you can join with us in your tithes, in your giving, in your time, to become the advocate for spirit in this world, to see how much Unity has given to you and start to giving it back fairly, right? So I wanted my dad to share a story that he shared about Chris Denham in the beginning when we first got here to Boulder, Colorado in 1978.
Chris Denham was by trade a carpenter, and at that time, every now and then, he'd be out of work for a period of time because there wasn't a lot of building projects going on at that time or whatever. But he was always there to help out at the church. I mean, he was an amazing being. Whenever we had a project to do, volunteers, he would volunteer. And not only that, but he would always take on the most difficult part of whatever the project was. He was willing to do that. And I'm just watching him when we first got here. I mean, I just finished being in San Angelo, Texas for 2 years and then school. But I looked at this guy who was the embodiment of the unity truth. He simply lived it, was very quiet, unassuming guy, but he lived the unity truth to the T. And it was an inspiration to me. Anyway, when we arrived, we had a small manse beside that little church on 22nd Street. There was a small house that Norma and I and our children moved into. And it was dilapidated, and the basement in the house was used for the Sunday school, which had a dirt floor. It was a mess. The church was really in bad shape, and the church itself was about to collapse. We did a number of different things, and Chris would always say to me, "Jack, you see the crack in that ceiling there?" We'd be downstairs where we had fellowship after the service. He said, "You see the crack in the ceiling?" He said, "Look where it goes." He said, "That beam, the beam under the whole church is actually sagging and it's about to break." And I said, "Well, what can we do?" He said, "What we can do, we have to move out before we lose the whole place." And I said, "We can't do that. We don't have the money." I mean, we got here, there was still owed money on that little church on Pearl Street. And everybody was up in arms about something that was going wrong. When we got here, everybody wanted to tell us who was doing what to who. And I said, "Wait a minute, we're not doing that." My first talk was, we are not going to try to deal with all the difficulties and grievances people have. We're going to start from here. We're going forward on principle. And that principle is we can accomplish whatever we give our hearts and minds to. And that's what we're going to do. And that's what love does. And so we started from that. But then one day we had an entertainer who came in. And he had conga drums. And he had everybody stamping their feet while he was singing. And Chris was across the sanctuary going. But it took somebody who was an engineer. Chris brought him downstairs. He said, "What do you think? What are we going to do here?" The engineer said, "I don't know what you're going to do, but if the city sees this, they're going to close you down. This is really dangerous." And from that day on, Chris decided he was going to put a new beam, underneath the church. And that's like a really difficult thing to do, because you have to get all these jacks, these turnbuckle jacks, and put them underneath joists here, this here, that over there, so that you can actually hold the church up while you remove this rotted beam that's running down the center, maybe 25 or 30 feet. And then we had to have 5 guys come in to do it. But Chris actually built the beam, put it together, these big bolts going through it, solid beam, and it weighed, I don't know, a couple of tons. We had 5, 8 guys down there lifting this beam up and putting it in place after we took out the rotted beam. And by the way, that church wouldn't be standing today if we hadn't put that beam in, which Chris worked on all that time. And here's the key to it. The beautiful part about it is, about 3 weeks later, we get a big check for about $3,968 from someone else. I asked the treasurer, "Well, who gave us that check?" She said, "It's Chris Denham." I said, "Chris Denham? He don't have that kind of money." She said, he gave us the check. I went, "Chris, where'd you get that money?" He said, "Well, right after I did the beam, I inherited a piece of property that I sold for $40,000. So it was such a symbol, because I was holding this guy as the epitome of the unity truth, and here it is. He does all this work, gives himself to it, receives nothing for it, and then is rewarded by the universe. This is an amazing demonstration. Yeah. But he was like that all through the years. All through the years. He's an amazing guy.
Yeah, and so for me, I had a different perspective just on him. He did just have, you know, when being a kid growing up in a spiritual center, I had a very keen understanding intuitively of who were the real deal and who wasn't. I just had that from a little kid. I could see, I could feel the people that did the talk and the people that walked the walk. And he was one of the ones with the sparkles. I'm going to interrupt you. You be very careful right now. This is my service, and I invited you on. I'm serious. Do we need to count to 3 and be sure? I'm
counting to 3.
Okay.
But the truth is,
I am not going to take it.
When you were in Sunday school here at our church, you knew everything about everybody.
I did.
Whenever your mom and I wanted to know what was going on, who this person was, we would ask you. And it really was true. I mean, you were the mouthpiece of unity. You were the biggest gossip.
Well, no, I was not. I was a little kid.
No, I know.
I would just sit by the coffee area, just stand there. Nobody realized how smart I was, and I was taking in, like, oh my gosh, so-and-so's having an affair. Oh my gosh, this is going on. And I was like, you know, like, it was...
It's the truth.
It was survival, you know. I don't know. Anyway, that was my nature. You know, I think that's why I am such a good counselor, because I'm very curious about people. I'm curious, and I'm good at asking questions about what's going on in people's lives. I just don't share it with anybody else anymore. But there was part of that was training, for sure.
I'll give you a final response. When your mother said, what do you think about, this is when you were doing the church administration, what do you think about Santisha becoming a minister? I said, are you kidding? No way.
Oh, boy.
But here you are.
But she saw it in me.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did. That's what mamas do. Yes. Okay. On that note, so I have actually been the prosperity teacher of this church for the last 23 to 25 years. I probably had more than 5,000 people take my classes, and they've changed people's lives. And I haven't been teaching them since COVID. I haven't felt guided to. I don't do things that I don't feel guided to do. And one of the reasons I didn't is because of the sense of upheaval that happened since COVID and all the change that people feel in their lives right now. And I didn't feel that it was appropriate to lead classes on the giving and the receiving as far as the giving. You know, I didn't want to push people to feel that they had to give more than what they were already being called to give in the world, right? The world has been overwhelming people. And so we've been really more focused on talks that are speaking of the fact that we are spiritual human beings having a human experience, to reiterate that how do we bring into the scene what is unseen, using the unseen realms to bountifully supply that which is needed. And I don't think that's why we're not coming up to the operating expenses of the church at this point, but we've been in this kind of decline for the last year. And so I was going to give a talk on that today, but I just wanted to stay and do this with Jack, because I think we have very similar points of view, but a little bit different sometimes, just because we, you know, different lives, different experiences. So when I was watching that memorial yesterday, I was experiencing God. You know, there's different phases of how we learn. We can learn from somebody telling us about the spiritual work, and you believe us, and then you take it into your life. Then there's the other way, where we experience something. We have something that changes our life, that all of a sudden opens our eyes and our heart to sees from a different lens, experiences life from a different lens, because something happened, an awakening happened, something where it doesn't even have to be something tragic like a car accident, but where it's time stopped, right? And you could calculate the car and get yourself into a position, and you felt that sense that something bigger, something greater was at hand than your human self. It's those kind of moments that we start to build faith in this unseen realm, and we start to give more to the practice, like meditating and being in nature, using affirmations for others, not just for ourselves, using prayer for others, not just for ourselves. We realize it's a giving and a receiving nature, and if we're sitting in our life right now and we're feeling like we're stagnating and damming up and things are not coming our way, we're probably just doing this, trying to pull things towards ourselves and trying to
Yeah,
create.
but I think that's the result of COVID. COVID took the entire world by surprise. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was like somebody threw the deck of cards in the air and they just hit the floor, and then nobody knew how to put them all together. And people became very concerned, and it was a lot of, trepidation, but also there's a lot of cynicism going on, because the world begins to look to people when they're in fear that there's no hope. And the fact of the matter is, one thing that we have in Unity that we try to impart to everyone as we do our work is that principle never changes. Life's principles and the law of life never changes. Casey speaks about the law of life. Let me just share that with you for a second here. This is Edgar Casey, who I always go back to as a source for me, because he was able to do things that most human beings couldn't ever do. And he was asked the question, what is truth? And he responded in a reading, truth is law. And then, what is law? Law is love. What is love? Love is God. What is God? God is law and love. These are the cycles of reality. And when we come to understand this, we recognize how we can live our lives effectively, beautifully, harmoniously, with prosperity and peace. So, this is coming from source. That which came through Edgar Casey, he would lay aside his consciousness altogether. He didn't even know what was going to come through him, except when the questions came, they were answered by what was referred to as source. And in the end, he's saying that giving is the outward expression of love. Giving is the outward expression of love, and when we, in Unity, we try to impart that to people, it has to do with our beliefs. It has to do with returning to principle with never changes. The cards have been thrown up in the air.
The world is changing.
Right.
But principle stays the same.
That's right.
But we look to the world for our answers. And that's why there's so much unsettled energy for almost everyone I know, including myself. I get caught up in it, for sure, 100% at times, with kids in high school, with shootings, and 2 kids. And I've had my kids locked down from shootings, or situations where they were locked down and you don't know, twice. To have that experience as a mother, it's just like, it does make you not trust the universe, but you have to realize principle's still the same. It's the world that's changing, and we know the awakening's going to happen, and there's a catapult, and it's going to be good, but it's been consistently difficult to watch, and we just cannot sign up with it. It's really that. And so not taking care of the spiritual centers that are feeding you this truth to remind you as a mirror of the power that lives within you as the source and the center of your life to bring into your life, then what would you do if you don't have these places? That's really the question, because I know I have this place to go when I'm having a tough time. I know I have my friends in spirituality that can mirror to me when I'm in a weakened place, and I can mirror to them when they're in a weakened place, so we can keep building and building the stamina of spirituality. But I wanted to read this from the Prosperity Secrets of the Ages, which is one of the classes that I teach that's written by Catherine Ponder, and she wrote this. God has given us a world that nothing but our own lack of good sense keeps from being a paradise. In other words, we live in a world that always has the potential for affluence, All the substance of the universe, all the wealth that has ever manifested itself or ever will manifest itself in this world is present right now. This is why Jesus said in John 10:10, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. And when we look at it this metaphysically, we see Jesus as an example of ourselves. So I came that they may have life. He came to show us as an example of what we are capable of being, of the divine spark that is us, right? Jesus wasn't separate from us. He was the example. We are all perfect children of God with the abilities to work the same miracles in our lives for health, prosperity, for love, for connection, for whatever area that you're feeling there's lack in your life. You can call it to you by your giving nature, giving away what we need more of. Right? It's really, but it takes faith to do that, because when we're financially not doing well and we're feeling strictly like we can't take care of our bills, we get really tight and we get really shut down. And there's no flow. When we feel the difference between this and this, there's room for something to come in. But when we're like this, the purse is tight, we're thinking about our bank account, there's not enough in it, and we're just living our life manicking and panicking about the limitations of life. When you see with the situation with Chris Denham, he wasn't expecting land to sell or an inheritance. This is what I've watched in my prosperity classes. We think that we have these certain paychecks, and so we live within those, and that's all the money that's coming into our lives. So we're not open up to the miracles that are there. Right? How many times I've seen people say, I just got this random check from this person that owed me money from 10 years ago, but I started tithing 10% of my income to the church. I put God first in my actions, and then all of a sudden I always seem to have enough to get to the end of the month. And nothing changed. It not even financially changed, but all of a sudden I could make it. For some reason, the money went further, but then all of a sudden, the check comes out of the mail, and it's $5,000, and somebody owed it, and they'd already released that it was never coming. It's these type of things. It's little miracles where money just ends up in your life in unexpected ways, because it's an opulent universe. It's filled with supply. It's us that restricts us from our good. And so I understand that COVID and the way things changed and how it put us in the state of fight or flight, because everything is so unpredictable, that we're in a place where we can either stay in fight or flight, or like I said last week, we can be in flow and ease, giving and receiving in faith, and trusting that the universe is honorable, which it is, right? And so that's what we really want to share here today. Life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. Every one of us is going through this, figuring out, like he said, the cards are thrown in the air, and things changed in the world. And we see the discord of the world. And I don't even watch the news. I didn't know there was even a fire in Canada until I was walking my dog in nature, and some lady that goes to church goes, I said, it's so misty from the rain, and she goes, no, that's smoke. I was like, oh, okay. I know the sensitivity of my being, and for me to be able to be a leader of spirit in life, to remind people, I can't hear about the discord of the world. I have to look upon the things of spirit. I live upon the things of spirit. I meditate in the light of spirit, so that I may have the joy and the peace and the energy that I need to be able to be a resource, a love channel of this greater good, which all of us are supposed to be being that out in the world for everyone. And it starts with having faith in this greater something and taking care of the place that is reminding you of the power that lives within you.
This is what Unity seeks to bring across, which is much different than traditional Christianity. In Unity, we're not praying to a separate, distant God. In Unity, if you're tuning in and doing some type of spiritual practice, you're going to be aware that effective prayer is praying from God consciousness, so that you begin to recognize that this divine awareness is there for us to tune into and then bring forth into expression in our lives. How many people here actually know that as a fact, that the most effective way you can pray is to pray from God within you. Raise your hand if you actually know that as an absolute truth. And raise your hand if you don't, if you haven't really ever given it any kind of thought. You're afraid to raise your hand, we'll have you thrown out. And that's...
It's called affirmative prayer.
Affirmative prayer.
Affirmative prayer.
Well, you see, what happened was that it became a business. Religion became such a business. And then we had the middlemen that had to, get the best of the spoils of what the people had to offer, were the priests. And they stood between the people and God, and they kept this heaven outside of everyone, even though the master of life said the kingdom of heaven, of God, is within you. You may not hear that in a traditional Christian church very often, but that is the teaching of the master of our truth. So when we start to align ourselves with that truth, we begin to offset the limited thinking that goes on in our heads from the world. We're receiving all kinds of limited thinking from the world because the world doesn't have an awareness that we are all divine. We are divine beings going through a human experience, and we are going to evolve, by the way, even though the difficulties, the problems, and the pain that seems to be available out there in the world is going to be for us a great teacher, that we shouldn't give in anymore to the limited concepts of worldly consciousness. We need to stand firm on principle. There is one power, one presence in all the universe, and that is the presence of the divine creative power within you. And when you give yourself to that, you will have life and have it abundantly as it was promised. And that is why the bottom line of Unity is, from Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore, who founded Unity, Christ in you is the hope of glory. Not Christ outside of you, not Christ coming on a distant day, but right now, right where you are, tune into who you truly are, that divine being.
So with that said, when it comes to giving to Unity, we don't really talk about it very often because we don't want to guilt anybody. That's just not what Unity is. We just pray that you listen and know the need and ask Spirit from within what you can give back to what you are receiving, and whatever that measure is, Spirit will guide you to whatever. But I do want to talk about the fact that we have somebody that's deeply in the staff and board who has heard where we are financially, and this anonymous giver has put up a matching tithe of $10,000 to help us start trying to get back up to where we need to be. This summer, we'd like to stay in the black each month. We haven't for 7 months. That's put us about in numbers that are not good. We want to see that this isn't one of those slumpy summers that even goes worse than it's already been in the winter, and So our loving-backed intention is that we're going to be on the right side of prosperity, and that we're all going to collectively and consciously do that together. So if you want to make a tithe that matches that 10,000, that would be on top of your regular tithe. So it's your regular tithe, and then an offering is on top of that, goes into the match, so that we can start raising some money and getting ourselves back into homeostasis here at Unity of Boulder. But we're going to close with this. During that memorial, it was very emotional, and it became very emotional when Marcia Jordan, who is the mother of Louis Jordan, our drummer, who was also the lead music with my mom all of the years from the first and second church. And she got up and she started playing her dulcimer, and that was such a sound of my childhood. And that's when the tears started flowing, remembering the love that this place is built, the people that have put the foundation that's underneath you. It's time for you to now step into the rules because they're no longer here in the physical.
And so we just ask you to listen to this music and hear where unity began.
We're just going to go right into it without talking. One, two, three, 1, 2. I was born in the path of the winter wind and raised where the mountains are old. Their springtime waters came dancing down. I remember the tales they told. The whistling ways of my younger days too quickly have faded on by, but all of their memories linger on like the light in a fading sky. River, take me along in your sunshine, sing me your song, ever moving and winding and free. You rolling old river, you changing old river, let you and me, river, run down to the sea. Well, I've been to the city and back again. I've been touched by some things that I've learned. Met a lot of good people and I've called them friends. Felt the change when the seasons turned. I've heard all the songs that the children sing, and
It is so true that to sing is like praying twice over. Thank you so much. I am so grateful to Unity for the peace and the power and the joy that I receive from being here at Unity. The joy of being of service, the power that comes from all the practical tools here, and the peace that comes from learning to live from a place of faith. And I think these are the things that we need in the world to bring us out of this energy that's on the planet right now. I just hold it in my heart that this message and these tools and this energy can spread around the world and help transform this world. So when we're asking you to give today, it's your opportunity to participate in that transformation, starting with you. We always believe that transformation in the world starts with each of us. And we do have that special opportunity today with the matching gift. So when you give, if you write a check or if you give online, put in your comments, match. And when you do that, your contribution today will be doubled. So any questions about that, or if you're giving in a way where you can't make that comment, come into the church and tell us, and we'll make that happen. So thank you today for being here and being part of this flow of spirit.
Okay. Yep, the master said that a little bit of leaven will actually bring the whole lump into prosperity. That's what we're about doing. So with open hearts and minds and operating from the presence divine within us, let us bring into our hands that gift we'd like to make today here in the sanctuary. And those of you that are viewing this on screen, just bring to mind that gift you'd like to send to Unity of Boulder. And let's bless that gift with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is, and we have the opportunity to listen to Rebecca Braxis share her amazing music with us once again.
In my house with nowhere to be, in my heart wondering how to set the world free. I see pain out my window and on my screen. I'm in a fishbowl watching it all, then wishing my heart was 10 feet tall. Can love really make it all okay? It's the inside that makes the outside. It's the inside that makes the outside. I wanna be the change I wanna see. I wanna be the change I want to see. I know it's all up to me. It all comes down to me. It all comes down to me. Yeah, 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 yeah. Am I a victim to all insanity? Am I just a martyr to my news feed? I'm paralyzed by what comes over me. I could laugh and I could scream. The dark is always there, but so is the light. My point of view guides me through the light. It's the inside that makes the outside. It's the inside that makes the outside. I'm gonna be the change I wanna see. I'm gonna be the change I want change I want to see. I want to be the change I want to see. I know it's all up to me. It all comes down, it all comes down, it all comes down to me. It all comes down, it all comes down, it all comes down to me. It all comes down, it all comes down to me. Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right. Well, we hope you'll join us for lunch at La Mariposa. We'll all be over there around 12:30. We do have fellowship after in the fellowship hall. We won't have a discussion group because we can discuss the service around lunch today over there. And we are going to sing, Oh, and I want to thank Marcia and Bruce for sharing that incredible music.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Took us back in time, took us home to the beginning. And then we're going to sing, we want to let you know we have prayer partners. If you guys would stand up. If you have a prayer need today, just stay seated in your seat after the service, and they will come and find you and pray with you today.
Yeah, the margaritas are a limit of 2. We can't have any fist fighting like we had last time.
That's not true. All right, let's rise and close with I Release and I Let Go. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let
and love. Have a great week. We'll see you Wednesday at 6.